The McLaren 765LT is a fabulous supercar, one of my favourites in fact, perfect for sweeping along a beautiful road in the Basque Country like this. But when the sun's out and the scenery is as good as this, well, I do like to be able to put the roof down. And now, with the 765LT Spider, you can do just that, in 11 seconds. You can, of course, put the roof down at up to 31 miles an hour, but stopping here gives me a chance just to tell you a few more things about this Spider, starting with perhaps the wheels, which are a new design, lightweight forged alloy, but not actually quite as light as the ones on the Coupe 765LT. Of course, overall, it's not quite as light either, because that roof system, light though it is, carbon fibre though it is, adds in an extra 49 kilos. However, overall, compared to a 720S Spider, this is 80 kilos lighter, giving a din weight of 1,388 kilos. Other than that, well, we've got all the LT bits you'd expect, all the carbon fibre, the splitter down here, the vents over the arches here, the springs, the dampers, the exhaust, the greater rake. So let's go and find out if it drives like an LT. As soon as you get into this, there's that lovely McLaren feeling of just being so low down, skimming along the road. Even in these comfort seats, which seem like a bit of an oxymoronical option for an LT, but there is just a lovely fluidity to the way it goes down a road, particularly a beautiful one like this. And at this time of year, roof down, all these amazing autumn colours. I'm a happy boy. If you leave everything in comfort, so you don't press the active button here, then it does try and shift pretty early, but press active, leave it in manual. You can really feel the urgency in this car. There's an energy to it. Like the Coupe, this has shorter gearing, so whereas in the standard 720 you have 6 gears and then a 7th as a sort of overdrive, this makes use of all 7 gears, so top speed is in 7th. And second gear really just, it gives an angriness to this car. And in sport, obviously, you get the cracks from the exhaust as well. McLaren says the in-gear acceleration is 15% quicker in the LT, but this is one of those situations where statistics really don't do it justice. It feels phenomenally fast. If you want the headline acceleration figures, then 0 to 62 is dispatched in just 2.8 seconds, and 0 to 124 in 7.2. The Spider will also match the Coupe's top speed of 205 miles an hour. No compromises there then.
The one thing I'm not completely convinced about at the moment, in fact, is the steering. Now, I think it's a case of sort of context, because if you jumped out of a 720S, you'd think it was wonderful, because it's definitely more weighty. You don't get that sort of lightness when you get more than a sort of quarter turn of lock-on. But the front end does just feel a bit softer, a little heavier. It's not quite as willing to sort of tack into corners, and this feedback is perhaps, it's just not quite as lucid and alive as the Coupe on turning. It's not sort of just feeding back as much as I remember. So they've obviously made some changes.
What hasn't changed is the magnificent visibility from the cockpit. It's still up there with the very best in the business, helped of course by the way you can tuck the screen out of the way. I do think the general design of the interior is showing its age a bit now though, even if ergonomically it's excellent. Overall, what our few hours on the road revealed was that as well as being fast across the ground, this is a car that can also be remarkably relaxed, usable and comfortable. Surprisingly, the LT is capable of being a bit GT. But of course, that's not really what you buy it for. This is the brilliant Navara Circuit. Opened in 2010, it is 2.4 miles long with 15 corners. The first half reminds me of Portimao and Estoril, while the second has quite a traditional, tight, technical infield feel to it, almost like a large kart track. It's a good test of both car and driver.
I've got the variable drift control, well, giving maximum amount of leeway really. It is so fast. I never get used to supercars with big power figures, and this is 754 brake horsepower, 590 pounds-foot of torque. Get sort of blasé about it, but with the shorter gearing in this, my word, you feel it. You feel it on the road, which you expect, but on the track still, it takes your breath away. The gearing's so short that actually even through these tighter corners you can use third just to give yourself a bit more traction. You definitely want, I think, the sport seats or these center seats in here, because just in a car with this much grip, we're on Trofeo Wild tyres as we were on the road, but you need the extra support in the seats, I think, and actually they're really comfy on the road as well. So I did ask about the front end on this, and yeah, they've changed the geometry a little bit as well. It's got a bit more toe out just to help with stability, and obviously they changed the dampers as well, so that explains the slightly softer feeling at the front end. But actually I notice it less on track, I have to say.
Some of this, of course, will be because the dampers are in their stiffest setting, and what you do still notice is that it's not quite as pointy at the front end. You need to work the brakes a little harder into the corner if you want to try to replicate the coupe's really pointy nose. It's not a big thing though, and I can actually see how some might prefer the slightly more stable feeling of the Spider.
It's still got that lovely, malleable McLaren feeling. So it's quite a different feel to something like a GT3, which is super sort of tough, and this is just a bit more playful. It just rips through the gears. Bumpy up to here. Quick corner. Certainly don't feel like I'm getting completely right. You just balance it on the brakes, it's wonderful. And you're rotating early in the corner like that, you feel the rear coming round. And it feels super stable actually.
The brakes are one of the standout features of the 765LT. They have a different booster compared to the 720S, and they have the calipers from the Senna. This has the track brake upgrade as well, which adds the discs from the Senna, but costs a whopping £14,900. Braking is of course helped by the big rear wing, acting as an air brake. Talking of which, the Spider's flatter rear deck and the extra turbulence that causes means you can see the rear wing in the mirror working much harder than in the coupe.
So in the 720S Spider I noticed some shake, and they seem to have, well, ameliorated that problem with this. They've got rid of the skate. Just occasionally see this up here vibrate a little bit. But you should be able to do that. If it was a really shaky convertible, then yeah, oversteering over bumpy curbs would be not something you do. What a thing. describe it, but actually kind of so friendly too. You feel that variable drift control coming in there, and it's really good. And just managing it, just helping you out. Right, we're running out of fuel now, so I'm going to have to come in.
There is a subtle dynamic difference between this and the coupe, and there is a price difference too. The drop top coming in about £30,000 or 10% more expensive at £310,500 before options. Which would I have? It's close, but much as I love the freeing feeling of being able to go al fresco, I do marginally prefer the steering and handling of the coupe, so that would be the one for me. But I could absolutely understand why others would choose differently. In spider form, the 765LT remains so fluid yet angry, so usable yet focused, so true to the long-tail tradition. It remains a fabulous supercar.